All right, going to talk a variety of sports in a short amount of time with Shan Shariff. He just got off the air, so he's pulling double duty. I know that he's been looking forward to this for years and years and years. So congrats, Sean. I know this is probably the most significant event that's happened in your life in the last month or so.
This chat?
No, this conversation. Yeah.
Yes, I have been looking forward to this for years. Not the child, not the newborn. I've been looking forward to this discussion with you. I'm actually hiding in here because I'm about to be on duty, on shift duty for the next 3 hours, 4 hours to let her get some sleep, and I'm terrified. When this happens to you, and everyone else knows this as a kid, the fact that this little thing that weighs 8 pounds can put so much terror through your body. I'm just praying he goes to sleep for a little bit. Yesterday, he did not go to sleep. I had to stay up, no nap, throughout the Ranger game. It sucked. Not fun right now.
Power rank your parenting skills right now. Like, what are your top three abilities? Like, is it the swaddle? Is what do you call it? Swaddling or patting their back, burping them? Like, what are your best skills?
Yeah, that's a good question because right now, I'm a very sensitive individual, and she in the beginning was just like looking over my shoulder, and it was pissing me off. I couldn't change the diaper right. I couldn't wipe him right. I was putting on the wrong lotion. I wasn't burping him right. I wasn't holding his head right. She wasn't saying it every time, but you get that feeling, when you're just getting looked at. And it was infuriating me. You're not putting him down right. You're putting him down too early. So let's see. Anything I'm good at would be very basic. The swaddle's easy now. I just got the Velcro ones. I won't do the swaddle. You have to tie it up. I can't do that. That's kind of it. Like changing the diaper, I can do that. The problem is now he pees sometimes on you when you take off the diaper and he pees. So that's an effing disaster. And then I don't have to warm the bottles of the milk and all that. You just get it out of the form. We're doing formula, so just give it to him. Yeah, I can burp him fine because I'm hitting him because I'm taking out frustration. So I'm kidding. All you hotline people, you chat room or message board Twitter people. So I'm not very good right now. I'm good at putting him in the crib and hoping that he goes to sleep, but that has been a failure recently.
Has Oliver reacted in a way that shows you that at a young age he's already developing like some strong sports opinions? Like when someone comes on TV, does he always cry or anything like that?
He goes to sleep during my show, so that is already a horrible sports opinion. The Sean and RJ show sucks. It doesn't wake him up. He shows no reaction. So that's his first terrible sports opinion, going to sleep during my show.
All right. Speaking of terrible sports opinions, earlier today, and if you don't listen to Sean and RJ on Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 10 on the Fan, you and RJ were going through a ranking of the top 100 NFL players, and this is a ranking that's voted on by the players. And obviously there's going to be discrepancies and with their opinions and our opinions, and that's what makes it fun. But sometimes there's opinions that just kind of blow you away, and you're like, wait, you play the game, shouldn't you know this? And to have Patrick Mahomes ranked as the third best quarterback, that blew my mind. And you guys did a great job breaking it down. Not that Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson, who are ranked ahead of him, are spare quarterbacks, but I mean, how does Patrick Mahomes not get that sort of love from his peers?
Well, number one, I think it's recency bias that factors in. Now, you would think that the recency is who won the Super Bowl, but also who was the MVP. Lamar was the unanimous MVP. The problem with this list, number one, I don't think every player takes it serious. But the real problem is, what is the criteria? Let me ask you, what is the NFL Top 100? A ranking of what?
So it seems like best players, not tied to value, but I don't know. I think you're honest, son, because I bet that player A, player B, player C, and player D all probably, they might read the criteria. It might be spelled out, but think of like when on air we do a rankings of something, when it's three people, you got to remind the other two people, no, we're not worrying about this. It's just so they're probably going down 17 different paths to come up with their answers if they're even taking it seriously. Like
I think the confusion is it the best players in the NFL that I would draft tomorrow if there was a league open draft, or who just had the best season? So when it says the NFL top 100 2020, if we're talking about last year, you can definitely make the case Lamar Jackson's number one. I would vote on it as factoring in last year, factoring in their careers, factoring in the future, who are the best players? And that's why the whole world is doing this topic, what a crime it is that Mahomes was put number 4 overall on the list behind the other quarterbacks and Aaron Donald. But I think there's confusion of who was the man last season. Tank Lawrence was left off. Carson Wentz was left off. Dak Prescott before this year was left off 2 straight years. So let's just say Dak gets hurt in training camp, knock on wood, misses the whole year, right? Well, if he was just voted 46, should he be left off the list next year? He would drop on that list. He might be left off, but he shouldn't if we're voting on who still the best players are versus who had the best previous season. Best previous season, you could say Lamar Jackson, number 1.
Okay, one of the things I was thinking about when I was listening to you guys discuss this, because I always think that sometimes players really have a great grasp on things, but a lot of times when they're actively playing, they have the worst grasp on anything. Like the Joe fan is going to be like, what do you know? You don't play the game. But you're right. But we watch every game. Not every player does. Yeah. So you've got players, you've got coaches and execs, we'll group them together, and you've got other, whether that's media, fans, whatever the case is. In general, how do you rank the opinions, or like how do you value?
I'm not going to power rank everything. I know you want me to power. I know you and everyone on the station makes fun of me for power ranking.
I love power ranking.
Let me break it into these categories. I want to hear from players when it comes to technique. Okay? You can't tell me, Jared Sandler, why Joey Gallo, what he saw and was thinking when he went opposite field to tie the game against Arizona the other day, right? I love the NFL Top 100 to hear our cornerback talk about Amari Cooper's route running and how he sets up a route. Players don't understand value. That's where I want to hear from you, a media member. That's where I want to hear from a general manager. Aaron Donald can be a top 3 player in the NFL. He would never and should never be drafted as a top 3 player in the NFL. You can't get players to understand that or respect that. There's a lot of old school coaches and executives who don't understand it. So I want to hear from the media when it comes to value. I want to hear from GMs and coaches or executives, value. I want to hear from the players when it comes to technique and saying, I do not want to be in the hole against Zeke Elliott because he hurts me more than any running back that I have to face. That's how I break it into the importance of each of the opinions.
All right, one last thing on this, and then I want to get to some baseball, get to some basketball as we kind of quick hit the sports right now. If you think of the important positions in sports, so like whether it's a center iceman in hockey or a goalie in hockey, your superstar player. I think in the NBA it's less about position. It's just like superstar player is a position now.
Yeah.
Pitching in Major League Baseball, the quarterback in the NFL. I know that we're never going to have a uniform agreement on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like who are the best. But it seems like the quarterback has the most discrepancy than any of them. Like you can have someone think that, like I remember the Chris Sims ranking that you guys did a couple months ago. You could have in your ranking someone as a top 5 quarterback, and in someone else's ranking who puts in the work, and we're not talking about someone pulling stuff out of their tush, has someone ranked 13th. Whereas I don't think Clayton Kershaw was ever considered anything but a top 5 pitcher in his time. And I'm curious, like I have a few things as to why I think that might be, but I don't know. Do you feel that way, that there's more gray area with the quarterback ranking than any other star position?
Absolutely. And what's weird about that is the NFL is the most popular sport, so we probably see more of the great players on other teams than you would in the other sports. Like Javi Baez was put on the cover of a baseball video game. Okay, it took me a second to be like, where's Baez play? I don't watch Javi Baez. He was the cover guy. I watch Matt Stafford. So that doesn't make sense from that standpoint. But you're absolutely right. Part of it, I think, comes down to we're so locked in on our favorite NFL team. We watch every throw of Dak Prescott not once but twice, right? The NFL shows the live play, and then they always give you the replay immediately after. So I'm not watching Jimmy Garoppolo like that. I'm watching Jimmy, but I'm not dissecting him. I'm not looking at I'm watching the red zone for the other teams. I'm looking at the pick. I'm looking at the touchdown. I'm looking at the big play. So I think that's the reason why. Also, what do you categorize as elite or great, right? Choppy lives his life off the numbers, DVOA and WAR and this and that. And I like to go a little bit more on the eye test. Like, I don't think Dak Prescott is an elite, great quarterback. People have different definitions of great. Choppy thinks he's great. I think Luka Doncic is great. That's the level that I put my bar at when I'm talking about a great player. Don't tell me Dak Prescott is equal to Luka Doncic as a player. Luka's great. He's going to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Dak is yet. So I think it's our love and passion for, our own team. You are going to hate. You're going to love more. We're watching every Dak throw versus every, Tom Brady throw in Tampa. He's a bad example, but any Derek Carr throw, and that's my top of my mind explanation for it.
All right, I'm curious for you as someone how would you describe your baseball fandom? Casual fan, above average fan, not diehard?
No, not diehard. And I struggle with this on the radio. I probably shouldn't be saying it here. Like, it's not good for me to talk. Like, I know Choppy's NBA love has gone where my baseball love has gone. So, like, I grew up on the Orioles, man. Like, Camden Yards is an hour and a half away from me. I went to sleep. John Miller on the radio. Cal Ripken was a hero. Those teams were so fun. The Robbie Alomar, Rafael Palmeiro.
Brady Anderson.
Chris Hoyles was my favorite player. He was my favorite player.
Why?
I don't know. I just liked him. I don't know why. But
he homered the first Rangers game, not the first game I ever went to, but the first game I remember going to was the game. I don't know if you remember this. In the mid-'90s, the Rangers beat the Orioles 26-7. It was a massacre. I went to the game the next day, and Chris Hoyles hit a home run. So I was always like, oh, this Chris Hoyles guy, he seems pretty good.
Yeah. If I didn't have to watch baseball, I'm trying to think of a amount of games I'd be glued to during the regular season. It's just, I think part of it has to do with my job. It's turning into 3.5 hours every night. When I talk about a football season, I'm watching a 3-hour game once a week. It's too much, and it's too long. It's too drawn out. They've done a poor job marketing it. So I would say I'm a casual. If I wasn't working, I'd be a casual fan at most, but I have to be, in every single night, obviously.
But not a diehard. And I'm curious.
Copy is.
Early returns on the 60-game season. Like, I am a diehard, but I'd say over the last.
You're a diehard of every sport. For everyone
I know.
Who doesn't know, Sandler he knows the most sports of anyone in the building combined, I would say. Like, when we're on the road, it's got to be a random hockey game. It's got to be a random baseball. It's got to be a random this. It's got to be a random that. So you're a diehard of all the sports. You still love sports.
I do. I have not. That's an unbridled passion. But I'd say Mike Bassick, who says the craziest thing sometimes, 2 years ago brought up the idea. We were doing a Frisco game of 2 81-half seasons, which is similar to what they do in the minor leagues, but they do it for different reasons, and it makes sense. But I immediately dismissed it because I love Bassick, but most things he says that are a little off the beaten path, I dismiss it first, and then I give it a second thought. But I actually think this could really work. I don't think it will ever happen.
Yeah.
Because baseball is run by traditionalists, and I don't think that this is something they'd consider. But I do think the added intensity of 81-game halves fighting for a playoff spot would be interesting. And we don't have that totally here, but the 60-game sprint, I'm loving the urgency. I'm so conditioned when a team loses 3 of 4, whatever, it's 158 other games and this and that. And it does make the discussion hard, but now it's like the training wheels are off. Let's just fully talk about it. And when you lose 3 of 4, let's talk about it. I'm curious for you, has that added any interest or excitement?
Not yet, but it will. Like, I'm excited for this season. Look, man, all sports, especially with today's society and all the options in YouTube, all sports have to have urgency. You have to be playing for something. There has to be something on the line. You know, that's why I don't care about the Olympics. I'll watch the gold medal round. I'll watch the finals of an event. I don't want to watch the qualifier. I don't want to watch the when something is on the line. I don't watch college basketball anymore. I don't watch any college basketball regular season. I'll have on every game of March Madness. Why? Do or die. And you can't have that in game 30 of a 162 game season. You can have it in college football every weekend. Where one loss can do in your year. You can have it 16 games of an NFL season. And the same goes, by the way, for basketball. I don't want to pick on baseball here. Basketball has to do this too. People are leaving basketball. I'm more of an NBA fan. I don't love it as much as I used to buy the league pass for like 15 straight years. Basketball needs to divide this up within the season and have more of an urgency at the All-Star break or something added to it. So we're only 5 games in. I don't feel the urgency yet, but I'm looking forward to everyone being jumbled together, 1 or 2 games separating at the All-Star break at the trade deadline. I'm definitely more excited for this baseball season, but I don't want it to get too gimmicky. You know, I'm very picky. Like I don't like the 3. I hate 19 pitching changes in a game, but I also hate you have to face 3 batters as a reliever. You know, I'm a-hole picky about it, but that's just how I feel about it. I don't want it to get too gimmicky.
I was going to say you can't have your cake and eat it too, but I was discussing this with Emily the other day. That makes no sense. Like whoever gets a cake and isn't allowed to eat it. Like what's the origin
of that? A fake cake that is now the new norm at your wedding. It was a fake cake, and everyone's doing that. Part of it was fake.
Well, okay, so I was under the impression okay, so first of all, I knew
Jared cared about. If you ever want to send Jared anything, he loves whipped cream. It's his favorite food. He had a whipped cream bar that nobody went to at the wedding. He blames it on the announcer and the MC saying, "Hey guys, there's a whipped cream bar in the back." No one went to that, so he doesn't know what's going on with the cake.
But okay, so apparently that's normal. That like if you got one of those tiered cakes, only a little slice of it is real. I didn't know that.
I didn't know either.
But I don't understand that a lot of these idioms and whatnot. Like I get. But you can't have your cake and eat it too? Like, then what's the point of a cake? If you can't, like, why would you want to, like, for your birthday, if you're like, no, I love cake. Well, why would I would never give you the cake and say, haha, but you can't eat it. Like,
all right. I love these types of discussions. We should just I'm serious. We should have like a 10-minute discussion one day on these sayings. Where do they come from? Who came up with it? And why it does or doesn't make sense.
That seems like next episode right there.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get crazy ratings.
All right, go swaddle the baby.
All right, thank you. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Shan Shariff joining us for some sports talk here on 105.3thefan.com.